You know what's going bad for the Democrats in this shutdown when they keep rolling out sombrero guy, Hakeem Jeffries. He had a banner day today. We're going to show it to you. It's not good. It's really, really not good. Plus, J.B. Pritzker, you know him, Jabba, out of Chicago. He thinks he's going to be president, and he walked over to the Fox News studios, tried to have an interview with Bret Baier, and just lied. Absolutely lied. But Pam Bondi had the punchline on his joke there, and we'll show you that. Plus, what else are we talking? Oh, Bernie Sanders praising Trump for securing the border. Oh, he's running all right. You betcha. Why not? If Joe could do it, Bernie could do it. All that and a whole lot more coming up right now. We're brought to you by The Lion. I'm Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry. All that and a whole lot more. I keep saying all that and a whole lot more, and I think we deliver. We do, in fact, bring you a whole lot more. And that's why we appreciate you liking this video in advance, because I guarantee, Chris DeGaule's going to join us. What's not to like? That should give us some thumbs up and some subscriptions. Immediately, go ahead and subscribe. Whatever platform you're watching us on, we very much appreciate that support. Thanks. If you care about staying sharp and informed, make The Lion part of your daily routine. It's published by the Herzog Foundation. Love those guys. The Lion covers the headlines that matter. Politics, policy, culture, faith, the things you care about, all through a common sense, values-driven lens. It's the kind of journalism that goes beyond the surface, offering the context and clarity today's news demands. Whether you're tracking big national stories or you want to know what's happening in schools, state houses, communities all across the country, The Lion delivers smart, well-sourced reporting you're not going to find anywhere else. Visit readlion.com, catch up on the latest must-read stories, and then while you're there, sign up for the Lion's daily and weekly newsletters. That's readlion.com, news that informs and respects your worldview. Well, we've hit day 24 of the government shutdown that the Democrats demand we endure. Yesterday, we revisited the fact that they know you're suffering, but that's their leverage. Today, it got so bad, they decided to bring Hakeem Jeffries out again, this time on CNBC. It didn't go well for him. I got to say, though, he's looking sharp, though, isn't he? I think he got a good night's sleep last night. Or maybe he had some bad fajitas. He likes his Mexican food. Have you seen his sombrero and the Frito Bandito? Well, let's see what he had to say.
It said what you are asking the Republicans to do right now when they control the White House, the Senate, and the House is effectively what the Democrats could not do when they controlled all three of those heads of government themselves. The 10-year setup for this, for these, or the 3-year setup for the expiration of these credits was intentionally put in. It was put in when you controlled the White House, the House, and the Senate. You couldn't get it passed for longer. And so this is a setup that kind of your own creation that you all couldn't extend beyond that. Now you want the Republicans to do something you didn't do when you were in power?
It's not a setup beyond what we could do. We extended the Affordable Care Act tax credits in 2022 for 3 years. The program is working. It's providing health care to tens of millions of people in an affordable way, and it should be continued. It's interesting to us that Republicans decided that they would prefer to permanently extend massive tax breaks for their billionaire donors in their one big ugly bill.
All right, so this is what happens when he's confronted with an actual fact-based challenge to his policy. He just tries to weasel out of it. And by the way, when he says those tax credits, as he's calling it, the subsidies, the give backs to the insurance companies to make it seem like health insurance isn't as astronomically as expensive as it truly is, because Democrats and Obama broke it during Obamacare back in 2010. The reason that those tax credits were extended for 3 years in 2022, you know why? Because there was a pandemic and it's over now. That's why they were sunset. That's why they were timed out. And now they want to pretend like health insurance isn't as expensive and broken as it is by artificially making it seem cheaper by giving more money they don't have, to the insurance companies. That's really what this is all about. And he can't deny it. So that's why he changed the subject and said tax cuts for billionaires and crap like that. Is this working, though? Is their messaging resonating anywhere outside of the studios of CNN and the major networks. Let's ask a man who's got his finger on the pulse of the heartland and the American people. He's the morning show host on Salem Radio Network and, of course, on Salem News Channel. He's the one and only Christopher Stigall. Chris Stigall, it's good to see you. What do you got there?
I was just looking at my finger.
On the pulse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you, Lawrence?
Is anybody believing Hakeem Jeffries when he doesn't have the mustache and the sombrero?
I call him El Jefe now, just for fun. I just love it. No, and in fact, here's how you know, and you're probably going to get into this later, maybe not. The fact they can't stop talking about Trump remodeling the East Wing tells me that's why we know this isn't working, right?
Yeah. Last I checked, that's why they forced the government shutdown, to stop Trump from renovating the East Wing, right? Their messaging seems to be all over the place.
Yeah, it's pretty silly, and nobody seems to be buying it. I mean, it seems to be a jump ball, I think, unless you see data that I don't. The partisanship is still thick out there, and people who hate Trump want to blame everything on Trump, blame Republicans. They're fine to do so, but I don't see like the Republicans taking on water on this thing.
No.
I understand it. And to the Republicans' credit, for the first time in a long time, they're actually on the same page on a simple message. And
That's right.
They don't do that very well, very often. So I'll take the win.
They're on the same page on it. They're all staying on message. And one of the reasons is it's a very simple message. Every time the Democrats say, oh, but we need to fix Obamacare, or no, you need to do this, you need to do that, they're all saying the same thing. Okay,
yeah,
we're happy to talk about that. Just come on in and vote to refund the government, and then we'll have your conversation. That's pretty simple.
Yeah, I said today on the show that it's like my wife coming to me. We have an $8,000 a month budget for bills, and she says, I want 30 grand next month for jewelry. And I say, well, no, I'm not going to do that. And she says, well, then we're not going to pay any bills this month.
Makes sense.
It's about that. That's what it is. It's that unreasonable.
By the way, I've met your wife. She does.
She's not that high maintenance.
Nightmare. I cannot believe you. That kind of thing. Joe Kernan at CNBC then had his chance to take a whack at Hakeem. Look at Hakeem. Can we just talk about the body language and the
Poor
facial
guy.
expressions and just everything? It's like he wants to be speaker, I guess, but he's just hating life right now. It's hilarious. All right, let's see what happens.
And I think it's possible, Leader, that Republicans all feel that way, and we're just going to be stuck here until some really bad things happen.
Yeah, we haven't shut the government down. Donald Trump is the president. Republicans control the House and the Senate.
Yeah, okay. He keeps doing the same talking point over and over again. But what Kernan is saying there is no one's feeling any pain right now. Republicans have done a good job, and the president's done a good job to make sure that he can shift money around in the Pentagon budget, so you don't see pictures of military at a soup kitchen and things like that. They've gotten paid, but it's reaching a breaking point. And we had Secretary of the Transportation yesterday, Sean Duffy, saying, "Listen, at this point, air traffic controllers, they're stretched thin. They're going to have to start taking days off. They're not getting paid. I can't guarantee your flights aren't going to get canceled." Is that what it's going to take? And is that what Democrats want?
Yeah, I mean, if you believe the number 2 lady in the House who said that's our leverage, we know people are going to hurt. We don't like that, but that's our leverage. I mean, they've said as much. It's an astounding position to take, but they're saying it out loud. The only way we have anything going is to make people hurt. So, yeah, I think the idea that Trump has used dollars from tariffs to pay for our military thus far, I thought was genius. I mean, it's just, how smart do tariffs look right now? It's almost as though, and I asked Ron Johnson earlier this week of the show, I said, was this some sort of grand plan? Did you guys intend to start relitigating Obamacare and Trump using tariffs? He said, I wish I could tell you we were that sophisticated. No, but it's like a happy accident. The Democrats are making everything worse just by letting us sit around.
It is true that the Democrats have deliberately forced the narrative into the body politic that there's something broken about health insurance, and it forces the conversation. Oh, really? Well, what broke it?
That's right. Yeah, and then you're starting to talk about costs again.
Yeah.
And we're revisiting a 20-year-old argument that they were supposed to bring costs down, which of course they did not. They made it demonstrably worse. Yeah, no, it's a mess of their own. This is the kind of stuff Republicans have always historically done.
Exactly.
I'm having so much fun.
Yeah. By the way, while we're here, Joe Kernan also sort of, he was having fun here, just sort of hitting Hakeem Jeffries like a piñata, and he decided to nail him down on an endorsement for Mamdani up in New York. He's literally a congressman from Brooklyn. Before I play the cut, though, do you notice something else on the screen here? And I've noticed this. You and I, we've been around long enough to cover these government shutdowns and the the electronic media theatrics of it all. But look at the screen on CNBC. Where's the countdown clock? Where's the government shutdown day 24? Where's the scrolling data about all the people who are suffering? You don't see it.
That's a great point. And in fact, I'm monitoring MSNBC and CNN as we speak, and those don't exist there either. You're exactly right.
And I can guarantee you, if the narrative was working in the favor of the Democrats and hurting Republicans, that's all you'd see.
I saw CNN trot out one lady who benefits from SNAP or WIC or whatever those acronyms are.
Yeah.
They finally trotted out the lady that said she worries she's not going to be able to feed her family or something. They just started that this morning, I noticed.
All right, here's the moment where Hakeem Jeffries, now 10 days before the election for mayor of New York, still can't bring himself to endorse the Democrats' nominee in the city of New York.
You know what else has passed after November 1st? The election for mayor in New York. Come on. Are you ready? Are you ready to endorse Mamdani yet, Leader Jeffries?
As I've repeatedly said, Joe, I'll have more to say about the mayor's race when I have more to say about the mayor's race.
Today's the day for more. This is part of the future you were talking about last time you were on. This could be the future that you were talking about when you could do it. No.
Well, let me say that, listen, I'm going to continue to lean into the principle as Democrats that we believe in a strong floor and no. Well, listen, affordability, of course, is the top issue for the country. But as Democrats, listen, we believe in a country that brings about a strong floor and no ceiling. You work hard, you play by the rules. There should be no ceiling to your success. That's what I believe in. But at the same period of time, there should be a strong floor anchored in things like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Was that an endorsement? That almost sounded like you're easing into. So that's what Mamdani, A equals B equals C. That's what he stands for. Therefore, you're endorsing Mamdani. Is that? Have I got that?
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. But what I will say is that I do think that he took a important step in indicating he plans to retain Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch, who's doing a great job by all accounts.
Okay, so that's a getting you closer and closer. We appreciate as always speaking with you.
There it is. That was hilarious. He's not good at this. He's not a very skilled politician. But this is the Democrats' problem right now. The other major narrative working in their favor, not counting the elections in Virginia and New Jersey, which, by the way, they were supposed to have won by now already. They're not even supposed to be close, is the fact that they're literally about to elect a communist in New York City.
Yeah. And I can't figure out, I really can't, whether the Democrats are a little frightened of this or not. I mean, we all know who controls the narrative in the Democrat Party. It is the AOCs and the Mamdanis. We know that much. But what I can't understand are the Jeffries, the Pelosi's, the old Clinton guard, some of them, Team Biden. I think they know that this is the guy that Republicans are going to talk about for the next calendar year, and they're really calculating whether or not that's going to hurt or help them ultimately. And I don't know the answer to that either, but I do know there are enough Democrats worried about him being hanged around the neck of every Democrat next year.
Well, if you think about it, every power player in the Democrat leadership is either from San Francisco, Los Angeles, or New York City, which, again, those are very heavily Democrat cities. And Zohran Mamdani, I'm sure, can do very well in New York running as mayor. By the way, when his chief opponent is Andrew Cuomo, one of the most hated people in the state of New York. I mean, it's a low bar to beat Andrew Cuomo. And I think that Hakeem Jeffries is smart enough to realize that it may play here, but it ain't playing in Iowa or in Wisconsin, for that matter, some states that matter when it comes to winning the White House.
You want to know why you're right about that? Take a look at the state of Iowa, where the babe that used to run Michelle Obama's office was running for Senate there, and she was on the school board in Des Moines, and then they found out that they hired an illegal alien for the superintendent there, and she immediately bolted. So that's not Mamdani. That's just hiring an illegal alien as a superintendent in Des Moines, and she ran. That's how you know you're right.
There you go. By the way, did you just refer to her as a babe? Is that? I mean, are you talking just
trying to be complimentary? I guess
you have a type. I know that, but meanwhile, a little bit more. I can't get enough of how bad Hakeem Jeffries is crashing.
And wearing gray, by the way. He's wearing gray. Like, you know, like could there be?
He's wearing gray from the neck up. Look at him. He looks like he's sick. He's ashen. I'm worried about him.
He really is. The blood has just left him.
Oh, it's awful. It's good though. Look at his. I'm not even catching him mid blink. I think during the interview he said, "Oh Jesus, Lord Almighty, save me."
Well,
All
it's,
right.
you know, it's driven Nancy Pelosi to turn around and just shout, "Shut up" at the press now. She's that distraught. She can't believe what's happened to her party. Shut up. That's all they've got left.
All right, here.
Target range or than anybody feels comfortable with. The problem is inflation is often caused by government spending. Additional government spending is not likely to get it to the point where we are going to see less inflation out there. How do you handle that?
This is not additional government spending.
It is additional government spending. You're looking for another $350 billion of additional government spending over the next 10 years.
That's just with
no.
With the Obama.
We're actually extending a tax credit that currently exists. And what's interesting is that in then one.
Hold on, I got to jump in here because there are lies, there are dab lies, and then there's Democrat lies.
Yep.
So he's asking for. I mean, that's the whole point here is that they want $350 billion to prop up the failing Affordable Care Act, right? The money, if they pass the budget as it stands, that money will not be here. Yep. They are demanding that the money be there, and his way of rationing, oh no, it's not new spending. We just want to extend spending that wouldn't be there if we didn't extend it. But that's not new, Chris. Is that flying? Is anyone buying?
I hope not. I really hope that people understand it is, of course, additional money. But that's the perverse thing about Washington, as you well understand, is every time they raise spending, they treat that as that new floor. They never go below that raised level. That's how Democrats, and to be fair, Republicans in the past have operated. So, yeah, absolutely right.
However, to be fair, Republicans 95% of the time operate in those conditions when it comes to a tax cut for the American people.
That's right.
Yes, like they just extended the tax cuts from 2017 that were supposed to sunset. It's always so that we can keep more money in our pocket. When Democrats do it, it's so that they can keep money in the government's pocket.
That's right. And always when taxes are returned to the people, as we all know, studying basic free market economics, more jobs are created, more revenue comes into the treasury when you give money back to people.
That's right. I always love the Orwellian language of, well, how are you gonna pay for that tax cut?
Yes.
Pay for it. It's our money. All right. Let's see if he can weasel out of this, because I got to say, CNBC in the morning, they're pretty good at actually pressing people on these things.
I never get to watch it. It's amazing.
Republicans raised the debt ceiling by about over $4 trillion, exploded the deficit and the debt, but then they used a policy framework called current policy baseline, which is to say that if you just extend current policy, it has no fiscal impact. So the question is, why
I'm not a big fan of how any of you all use numbers in the government.
So the question is, why are Republicans willing to use that approach when it comes to massive tax breaks?
Like I said, I'm not a big fan with how any of the government, I'm not a big fan of how any elected officials tend to use figures to tell us what we want to hear with some of these things. Additional government spending, though, is going to mean worse numbers when it comes to inflation. Is there a way to get everybody together and try and find ways to fix the base problems with healthcare and try and make sure that people are being given the help that they need along the way? It seems like it's a really tough thing to do when the government's been shut for 24 days. That is not a great situation, that we're asking other people to bear the pain.
We have a broken healthcare system, and it obviously needs to be fixed in a decisive way. But there are steps that should be taken right now with respect to the reality that tens of millions of Americans are receiving notices as we speak, indicating that their healthcare premiums are about to skyrocket in ways that will bankrupt them or deprive them of the ability to go see a doctor when they need one, when their children or when their families need one.
You know, if only, Chris, we had passed a law that did something with care, like made it affordable. I know we could call it the Affordable Care something. I don't know.
I was literally just thinking the exact same thing. That's why you and I are friends. I'm listening to that, and I thought to myself, what life requires when talking about politics in the United States is just time served. Because after a while, I mean, when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and we were talking about this, I didn't know what I know now. I now have a career of 25 years behind me to look in the rearview mirror and remember all of these same things were being said all those years ago. And I can now say, wait a minute, I know what you said. I was there. You said if we pass this will make everything cheaper and fix it. And you're saying the same things today that you said back then.
And by the way, every step along the way, every single thing the Democrat Party wanted to do with regard to fixing healthcare and health insurance, they did. They got it. They won across the board. And now we have a broken healthcare system.
And they passed it. And you remember, they passed it in a snowstorm on Christmas Eve by one vote, thanks to Arlen Specter from Pennsylvania, who flip-flopped. They rammed this thing home. Nobody wanted it, and they fought and fought and fought to get it. And here we are, 20-something years later.
All right. So, but I hope you caught the framing of that conversation just now, the last part of it with Hakeem Jeffries, because the fear is that additional government spending is going to bring on more inflation. And President Trump, who's only been in office for 10 months now, has been working on trying to maintain that and bring down inflation. I kid you not. 30 minutes after that interview, we got the latest inflation numbers. Let's see what happened.
Here's our late but coming out September read on the Consumer Price Index. Headline number up 0.3, 1/10 cooler than both rearview mirror and what we were expecting. And if we look at the stripping out of food and energy known as core, it comes in also a bit less than expected, up 0.2. We were expecting up 0.3. Our last look was up 0.3. Here's the Moneyball numbers. Year over year, 3%. And even though it's less than the 3.1 we were expecting, it's hotter than 2.9. And after all, it's got a 3 handle. And if we look at CPI year over year ex food and energy, it also comes in at 3%. We're also expecting 3.1, but last look was 3.1, so it cooled a bit. So we're seeing interest rates move down and stocks move up. Here's our...
All right, so I speak Santorelli, so let me just translate all of that.
Thank you. I want to get him and Harry Enton from CNN together, by the way.
Funny you should say that. We got a clip from Harry as well, but I just want you to know, here's what it means. It means inflation is not as bad as people were expecting and all the experts were expecting again. There's a slight tick, but nothing as expensive as everybody thought because of tariffs and other aspects of the economy that continue to have issues, but it's better than expected. And you saw at the end there, the futures for the stock market started to climb. In fact, take a look at this right here.
Rick, the stock market has been telling us what to believe ever since Liberation Day. The stock market said this is not going to be the end of the world. Like so many, like almost unanimously, business reporters that tariffs were the end of the world, and here we are. Up, what are we up 36% since then?
That's right. The market is so inflation is under control. In fact, again, it didn't tick up as high as all the experts expected. Since April 8th, I believe it is, where the market cratered on the first announcements of tariffs, the markets are now up 36% since April 8th. Extraordinary run. It seems to me that the fundamentals of the economy are pretty strong here, despite the fact, again, I want to remind everyone, we have a government shutdown, which also usually tanks the market.
Kernan is echoing what I was told. I have a very good conservative friend who actually happens to work at one of the Federal Reserve banks. And when Liberation Day rolled around, he literally reached out to me and he said, I have no idea what Trump is doing. If you have any ability to communicate with the White House, you must stop him. Literally, that's a friend of mine. It's in terror, a Trump voter who said he's making the worst mistake ever. He's going to destroy the economy. I haven't spoken to that guy since. I need to follow up.
Yeah, you really should. I thought you were going to say you had somebody reach out to you and say, I don't care what you're doing right now. Buy.
No, he was dead set. And he's a conservative, like I said, inside the Fed, and just refused to believe that Trump's idea would work. And I love the fact, as I said earlier, they're rolling around in so much dough at the Treasury, they can buy a little time and cut checks during this shutdown. And nobody seems to really even notice the government's closed.
All right. You mentioned Harry Enton, and unlike Beetlejuice, it only takes one. You don't have to say it 3 times. And we get Harry Enton. And the important thing, as all this is going on in the background, he does have jazz hands.
The vaudevillian.
Hello, my lady. Here's the poll numbers. All right. You knew I was going to get a show tune in today. The big question is, how is the economy affecting politics with the shutdown, with inflation, with the tariffs, with the market? Who's feeling the pain? All right, Harry,
Yeah, quite surprising. I would honestly, sometimes you look at the numbers and you just go, whoa, it kind of pops off the screen. This is going to be a contrarian take. What are we talking about? Well, you know, Matt was mentioning about the econ playing such an important role in last year's presidential election. The top problem facing the U.S. is economic per Gallup. Last year, look at this, 43% at this time, 43% of Americans said the top problem was economic. Come to this side of the screen. It's just considerably different. We're talking about 24%. We're talking about a drop of near 20 points. And more than that, we're talking about across all of the different political groups, right? Democrats, independents, Republicans. We see that the percentage who say the top problem is economic has been falling through the floor. And more than that, you know, we're talking about inflation. The percentage of Americans who say that the top problem is inflation has also been falling, which is, I think, very much surprising given all the news that we are hearing about the economy.
It really is surprising. How does this compare to like the historical look at how people feel about the economy?
Okay, so, you know, let's talk about, we'll go through history, right? Let's take a look. The top problem facing the United States is economic. In the average midterm election, it's 35%. It's 35%. Look at where we are now. Again, it's 24%. It is lower. Fewer Americans right now are saying the top problem is economic than historically have said that the top problem is economic.
All right. So that's important here in terms of the upcoming election 1 year from now, basically, because Democrats want to take back the House and the Senate so they can do investigations, they can impeach Trump again and all that stuff. And right now, you just saw the numbers. Average midterm, 35% of Americans view the economy as the number one issue. Right now, it's only 24%. So that's bad news. Think about this. People are feeling okay about the economy. They're not worried. They're putting their faith in the administration and President Trump. And that's bad news for Democrats. So the question to you, Chris DeGaulle, what are they going to do to make people worried about the economy? They're going to have to drop a bomb of some kind. Something's going to happen, or we're going to have a COVID outbreak again, or something, because they need bad news to win the election.
It's the No King rally. They floated that out there this past weekend, hoping maybe they could shop that around. It's why, really, they're writing this East Wing remodel. They're trying to make him out to be this tyrant. Okay, maybe the economy is going well, but have you seen what he's doing? And I think people are asking, what exactly is he doing? You know, they're trying to make people think he is this monster coming for the republic. And I think average people are like, I don't see that. My life is not worse. I feel no inherent pain unless you're a federal worker, I suppose. Most people do not see the horrors that the left is trying to sell. So I don't know. Can they come up with something creative? They can't Billy Bush tape him anymore. They can't Letitia James him or Jack Smith him anymore.
Right.
I'm not sure what they can do at this point. And I don't think they know, which is why they keep hopping from supposed scandal to supposed scandal every week.
And just to wrap it up here, what a difference it makes to have Mike Johnson and John Thune in majority positions in the House and the Senate during this media cycle versus the Paul Ryan and the Mitch McConnells of the world, because they would be reacting a lot differently, I think, and not holding strong.
Yes, and here's other key thing. President Trump, every time he talks about this stuff, he's always having some level of fun. There's always a little gleam of mischief. You know, he's sending out the little AI memes of him dropping excrement on protesters and things. And then, like, you know, Mike Johnson, like Dean Wormer, always has to be asked about it. Do you agree with Trump's meme of him dropping it? Johnson, well, you know, we're all having fun here. But you're right. The old guys would have thrown Trump under the bus. Oh, I don't think these serious times call for that kind of behavior. But you're right. The boys in Congress are riding with him, and it's fun. They're all on the same page. I love it.
It is fun. All right. Chris DeGaulle, thank you for giving us your wisdom and the insights of the heartland. And let it get, because I'm in the swamp here. I know what people think here. And yes, a lot of people that I interact with and people who listen to my show are federal workers. They are affected by it, but it's interesting always to know what they're.
I'll just say this, $2.59 a gallon for gas. I just used my gas card points yesterday. No joke. I paid for 20 gallons of gas, 20 cents.
Wow. Yeah, as long as that continues, I think we're doing.
That's the heartland.
Thank you, Christopher. That's Chris DeGaulle, boys and girls, and make sure you check him out all the time on the Salem Radio Network and Salem News Channel. And stay right there, because in a moment we got to show you the J.B. Pritzker stuff and an unbelievable video of an attack on the Coast Guard and cops with a U-Haul truck Cops had to open fire. This happened up in the Bay Area, Oakland, Alameda, San Francisco. You're not going to believe this video. That's coming up in just a hot second. First, though, if you care about the direction of the country, you need to be reading The Lion, published by the Herzog Foundation. They're the national leader in Christian education, right? The Lion is an award-winning news site delivering sharp, timely reporting on what's really happening in America's schools, culture, and government. It's kind of journalism that cuts through the noise and gives you the full picture, especially when it comes to the growing movement toward Christ-centered education. But The Lion goes beyond classrooms. It covers parenting, faith, freedom, cultural battles, all the things shaping our future. Just like its namesake, The Lion embodies strength and courage, standing firm in a landscape where too many have surrendered our children's future to the left's ideology. Visit readlion.com, sign up for that daily or weekly newsletter so you never miss a headline. Readlion.com, clarity, courage, and news that keeps you informed and equipped. Listen, there's a war on federal law enforcement right now in our major cities, especially Chicago. What happened in Oakland, Alameda last night with a U-Haul truck backing toward a line of law enforcement, they opened fire on the truck. We're going to show you every bit of it and give you the latest on that story. But first, let's turn to the man who's in charge of the city of Chicago, who's routinely calling you, your president, and federal law enforcement fascist Nazis. J.B. Pritzker thinks he can be president of the United States. So he tested the waters last night with a one-on-one interview with Bret Baier at Fox News Channel. You be the judge. Do you see this man sitting in the Oval Office?
Should the Virginia Attorney General nominee, Jay Jones, drop out of the race over those texts that have been the focus of this race?
Yeah, I think that the text that I think everybody points to, he's apologized about that. People make mistakes. They do.
So he shouldn't drop out.
It's one thing if someone's doing it repeatedly, right? If you're making comments repeatedly that are, like that no doubt that was an offensive thing to write.
You've donated $20,000 to Jay Jones.
Yeah, he's donated money to the guy who did all of those violent text messages. I do like, though, that how does he know that this is a one-off? How does he know? I mean, seriously. He's, if he did it all the time. Can I ask you something? First of all, if you remember in the text message exchange where he talks about Todd Gilbert, the Republican leader in the state house, in the House of Delegates in Richmond, Virginia, talking about his dead children, talking about how they need to die, 2 bullets in the head. When the woman, a Republican delegate in Richmond that he was texting, challenged him on it, he said, you're talking about the death of his children. Jay Jones says in the text messages, yes, I've told you this before. People need to feel pain and suffering before they change their policies. So forgive me, J.B. Pritzker, Jabba, but this isn't just a one-off. He's admitting in the text messages that he's mused about this before. This is not a one-off, number one. Number two, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm weird, but when I see somebody texting someone like that, the kind of thing like Hitler, Pol Pot, or Todd Gilbert, you only have 2 bullets, they both go in Todd Gilbert's head, I don't think that's a one-off. I got a hunch that if you're comfortable enough to say that kind of thing to somebody in writing in text messages, just as a casual one-off, it's not your first time. But here's J.B. Pritzker saying, it'd be different if there were more than one instance. By the way, this guy, Jay Jones, who wants to be the Attorney General of Virginia, we also know that he was caught reckless driving in Virginia, going over 115 miles an hour in a 50-mile zone. He got a slap on the wrist, got 1,000 hours community service. He only served 500 of it at his own political action committee. And now there's a special prosecutor investigating that. He might lose his bar license and he won't actually even be able to practice law, which makes him ineligible to be the Attorney General. And J.B. Pritzker, like every other Democrat in this country, standing by his man. That's only the beginning of J.B. Pritzker's calamity last night on Fox News. Here's the next.
Why does Chicago have the highest murder rate of all the big cities?
Well, We are not in the top 30 in terms of our murder rate. Indeed,
the murder
our murder rate it has been cut in half over the last 4 years, and every year it's gone down by double digits. And if you look at all of the violent crime over the last 4 years,
here's a map.
They've all gone down.
U.S. cities, 17.47 per 100,000 population. Chicago is number one over Philadelphia, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Phoenix, Los Angeles, New York, and San Diego.
What I'm explaining to you
Now,
is
you're
when
talking
you want to
about
fight
violent
crime. Look, you can pull statistics up.
No,
I can
these are
too.
murders.
I'm
All right. I'm sorry. We're going to watch the end of it, but that's my favorite moment. Okay, so first he says, we're not we don't have a high murder rate. We're like not even in the top 30. Bret Baier shows him the numbers and says, I'm sorry, of cities with populations over 100,000, you're literally number one in murder. Oh, well, you can pull statistics out from anywhere. And Bret Baier's like, these aren't statistics. These are murders. It's not a statistic. It's a fact. And by the way, we already know that a lot of these murders are underreported in cities. It's probably much worse. Sure, you can make statistics tell you anything you want. But it's like, these are murders, pal. So his first answer was, we're not even in the top 30. And then when confronted with the reality that they're literally number one, he says, that's just statistics. Okay, so now watch the end, and then we'll have a little more commentary.
Explaining to you that our murder rate has been cut in half. And very importantly, Bret, and you got to hear this, very importantly, we've been doing the things that are necessary to bring crime down, right? We've invested in community violence interruption. We've invested in police. I've added more state police than any governor in quite a long time. It's very important that we do both of those things and more to invest in our communities so that we bring crime down. We're doing that. You know who's doing the opposite? Donald Trump.
Okay, well, doing the opposite, Donald Trump is kind of stupid. But of course, let's make it about Donald Trump because Donald Trump's responsible for the murder rate in Chicago. All right, so let me get this straight. I just want to be clear on what his message is. First, it's to deny that it's even true and lie and say that we're not in the top 30. Then when confronted with the truth, he blames it on statistics. And then finally, his answer is, sure, we have the number one murder rate of all the cities, but it was a lot worse a few years ago. That's it. That's all he's got. But Trump. But Trump is the other thing he's got. So let me just be clear on what's going on here, because this is all the Democrats have going into the next presidential year. This guy wants to be president. And by the way, he's a billionaire. He was a billionaire. He was born into it, of course. He did nothing for it, but he happens to be in the Pritzker family, which is the Hyatt hotel chain. Choose wisely, by the way, when you pick your hotels. This is why I'm a Marriott man. He wants to be president. He's got the money to fund a campaign, such as it is, and he'll be a contender for a little while at least. And this is exactly what the Democrats have for 2028. It's actually very similar to their message in 2024, which is very simple. Don't believe what you see. Don't believe what you hear. Don't believe what you feel. Don't believe your own reality. Don't believe what's actually happening in your life. Just trust me. Believe me. Don't believe your lying eyes, because you're wrong. I'll tell you what reality is. That was a perfect example of it. You have the highest murder rate. No, you don't. We're not even in the top 30. No. You really do have the highest murder rate. Here are the numbers. Oh, well, those are just statistics. No. This is murders, actual murders. Oh, well, it was twice as bad 4 years ago, so we deserve credit, and Trump's a bad man. Now, go back a year ago. Joe Biden is sharp as a tack. There's nothing wrong with him. He can be president. The economy's fantastic. Don't believe what you're paying for your groceries, because actually the economy is doing quite well. Thank you very much. Oh, no. There's not a border crisis. The border is completely under control. Oh, the Afghanistan withdrawal was a perfect success. Nobody gets fired for that. And on and on and on. That's all they've got. You see exactly what's happening in this world. You see it in your home. You see it in your child's school. You see it on the streets of the major city you live near, and you know who's responsible for it. And the only thing the Democrats can do is call you a liar. and tell you that reality is not what it actually is. That's all they got. That's all they got. That's why they want pot to be legalized. They want you stoned and stupid and not recognizing what's really going on. Thankfully, you're not either of those things. All right. It got worse for Pritzker because he couldn't deny the reality of the violent crime in his own state that he's responsible for. Then he decided to turn, as you saw at the end of that clip, turn his sights on Trump and start attacking him and federal law enforcement officers. Again, I want to remind you, he wants to be president of the United States. He would be the commander-in-chief of our military, and he would be the top law enforcement officer in charge of and responsible for those very law enforcement officers that he's about to trash.
But do you believe any illegal immigrant charged with or convicted of a felony should be deported?
I think they ought to take the violent criminals and get them out of my state and get them out of the country. I absolutely believe that, but that's not what they're doing. They said they were going after the worst.
You don't help them because you're a sanctuary state, right?
No, we do. If you bring us a judicial warrant, we will bring you all kinds of help on the ground to go get the bad guys. That's what we want. We want the bad guys off the
by the way, real fast, hang on, I'll let it finish.
The streets. What we don't want is for people to get racially profiled. That's what's happening right now.
Yeah, let me get to that in a second. But just so you know, that's a diversion. That's a tactic that they use. Understand, you pay attention to the actual words they're using. Oh, you bring us a judicial warrant and then we'll cooperate. That's not how ICE operates. They have deportation orders, not a bench warrant from a judge. They want every single person in this country who is illegally in the country and who has a criminal record to have to get a bench warrant from a judge before they can be deported. That's not the law. The law is all they need is a deportation order. There's 20, maybe 30 million of them. Do you realize how that would clog up our criminal court system to have to get a bench warrant? So that's a lie. When they do that, that is a diversion. It's oh, that sounds reasonable. That's right. Just get a warrant and then the cops will help. It's absolute distraction, diversion, and lie. And that's not how federal warrants work when it comes to deportation. If you want to deep dive on this, whatever channel you're watching this show on, we interviewed an immigration judge, an expert on this. It's about a 50-minute interview from a couple of months ago. It's a deep dive. It's got plenty of views on this channel. Kevin, can you remind me the name? I'm sure you have it, and if you don't, maybe you're looking it up right now because I can't. What was the name of that judge, the former immigration judge that we interviewed?
Andrew Arthur.
Andrew Arthur, thank you very much. You go to whatever channel you're watching, whatever platform you're watching this video on right now, you search for that name or Andrew Arthur, Larry O'Connor, you'll see that interview. That's a lie. And every single Democrat who says that is lying. They're trying to fool you. That's not how deportations work. All right. Also, the other thing, the racial profiling. Yeah, they're going after black and brown people. Let me just explain something to you. When ICE goes to Chicago, and they have a raid that they're going after certain individuals who are criminals, who have a criminal record and are suspected of being either criminals in the country that they fled and they were allowed to stay in this country because of Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas and Merrick Garland and Kamala Harris, or they're suspected of breaking the law here in America and they need to be apprehended by ICE so they can face deportation. When they are going to raid an area or going to find people of interest, they do what law enforcement does. What does law enforcement do when they're going to nab somebody? Well, they get a description of them. Okay, so there's a bad guy in there. There's a series of bad guys. They're suspected gang members. They might belong to Tren de Aragua. They might belong to MS-13, okay? All right, so can you help me identify the people that we're going after? Yes, they're about this tall. They're about this age. They're male. They tend to dress this way. And oh, by the way, they're of Hispanic descent, or they're African American, or they're Asian, or they're Middle Eastern, or they're Indian, or they're white. But that's how law enforcement works. You get a description of the suspect, then law enforcement goes in and they find people who match that description. And when they find them, they say, all right, well, show me your identification. Oh, you don't have legal identification? Oh, you're in the country illegally and you're consorting with these other criminals? Okay, you're getting deported. That's what's happening right now. And I'm sorry if J.B. Pritzker, Java, who wants to be president, wants to tell you that this is racially profiling. Call it what you will. But when asking for the race and utilizing the race of a criminal suspect when engaging in law enforcement activities to find that suspect, if asking for the race and utilizing the race as an identifying marker for that suspect is racial profiling, then that means every single cop around the world racially profiles, because it's basic law enforcement and it's logical, and you know that, and he knows that. And by the way, one other thing about this, there's a reason why Donald Trump did astronomically well in the last election with black voters and with Latino voters, because black voters and Latino voters want this to happen. They want law enforcement in their neighborhoods. They want federal law enforcement to enforce our immigration laws, to secure our borders, and get rid of the criminal element. When J.B. Pritzker says that ICE is racially profiling and only going after people with black and brown skin and rounding them up and deporting them, he's not saying that to curry favor with the black or Latino communities. No. Because the black and Latino communities know exactly who the bad guys are, and they want the cops to go in there and help them out. No, he says that to appeal to rich, white, suburban, educated liberals who live in safe communities behind fences and walls with security, who don't have to face the kind of criminal element that's in Chicago, in the South Side, or in the barrio. It's meant to appeal to hand-wringing, guilt-ridden, white, rich, educated liberals who say, that's terrible that he's racially profiling. Here, take my donation. Take my money. I want you to be president. That's who it's for. And meanwhile, his jihad against ICE agents continues. We've told you about the ICE apps out there that Antifa and the left and liberals and criminals are utilizing to track ICE agents, to identify what neighborhoods they're in, and it's ostensibly to warn people to, oh, if you're in the country illegally, if you're a criminal, stay away from this area because that's where an ICE agent is. But Antifa and the violent terrorist thugs, they've been using these apps to reverse engineer and target federal law enforcement agents so they can go in and ram them with their trucks and impede their ability to do their job and put their lives in danger. And Pritzker, he's harnessing the resources of the state of Illinois to aid in that endeavor.
Today, I'm signing an executive order creating the Illinois Accountability Commission, a body dedicated to truth, transparency, and justice. The commission will be charged with 3 core missions. 1, creating a public record of the abuses. 2, capturing the impact on families and communities. And 3, recommending actions to prevent further harm and to pursue justice. The commission will collect testimony, hold hearings, and gather information and firsthand accounts from individuals, community members, subject matter experts, local officials, journalists, faith leaders, and organizations. The commission and the records they gather will shine more light on the misconduct of Trump's federal agents. The Trump administration officials have demonstrated on more than one occasion that they are willing to lie to the public and the media to mask their misdeeds. They have already and will continue to cover up abuses of power, cross the legal limits of their authority, and attempt to justify dangerous attacks that threaten our people and our communities. We hope to reveal to the public in Chicago, the state of Illinois, across the nation, and around the world, the facts on the ground about what is happening here. We intend to create a detailed record of the truth. And once this all ends, people of good faith will review what this commission has gathered and will demand accountability. Indeed, people are demanding that accountability even now. The federal government has chosen to treat the people of this country as an adversary, It is pushing the boundaries of its authority, terrorizing our communities, and disregarding legal and moral accountability in the process. We will not meet intimidation with fear. We will meet it with truth. We can either let these abuses become our new normal and abandon the rule of law and our democratic values, or we can pursue real justice and accountability and transparency. We can do the work so those who break the law are held to account, so this chaos will stop, and so nothing like it ever happens again. Illinois is choosing our path, and I hope others who believe in the Constitution and the promise of America join us in doing so. The Commission has been tasked with finding opportunities to solicit information and allow the public to share testimony. To that end, I want to encourage all Illinoisans who have witnessed or experienced concerning conduct by federal agents to stay tuned at www.ilac.illinois.gov. I'm going to say that one more time, www.ilac.illinois.gov. Stay tuned there for details in the days and weeks ahead. Donald Trump is counting on your silence. We are counting on your courage.
All right. So a couple of things here. First of all, I want to point out that he thinks the people of his own state are so stupid that they can't even spell his state. That should not go unnoticed. Hell of a job there with the education system in Illinois. Did you notice that? Let me spell out Illinois. This is specifically for people who live in his state, and he had to spell out Illinois. I just want to make sure that doesn't go unnoticed. But also, what he's doing here is creating a taxpayer-funded public crowdsourcing doxing vehicle for people to dox ICE agents and track ICE agents, who they are, where they are, what they're doing. He's calling it a tip line. It's a doxing platform. These Democrats, from J.B. Pritzker to Gavin Newsom to Gretchen Whitmer to Kathy Hochul and on and on and on, they are neo-Confederates. They cannot shake the history of their party trying to go to war with the federal government when the federal government is, objectively speaking, doing their job. It is solely in the purview of the federal government to enforce immigration laws. They get cooperation from state and local authorities, and as we know, they don't cooperate in Illinois, New York, Michigan, Maryland, California, Oregon, Washington, on and on. But what he's doing is actually going to war with federal law enforcement officers. They cannot shake their secessionist tendencies that go all the way back to their love of owning human beings during the slave era of America. They're Democrats. What do you want? Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, who saw all of this transpire yesterday and commented on Hannity.
J.B. Beck, Ribs, Pritzker, they're doxing.
Sorry, on Jesse Waters. I mean, you know, Fox Primetime, potato.
They're telling people the whereabouts of ICE agents. Is that legal?
No. And Jesse, first time I've seen the Lori Lightfoot video is just now on your show. She will be getting a letter from us tomorrow to preserve anything that she's done as well to make sure that she's not violating the law. It appears she is. You cannot disclose the identity of a federal agent, where they live, anything that could harm them. Pritzker, same ball game with him. And, you know, Pelosi got a letter today from Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. So did Brooke Jenkins, that DA in San Francisco. We told them, preserve your emails, preserve everything you have on this topic, because if you are telling people to arrest our ICE officers, our federal agents, you cannot do that. You're impeding an investigation, and we will charge them if they think they have not met me, because we will charge them if they are violating the law. We will protect our federal agents. They're out there working nonstop, as you're showing right now during a shutdown. These people are out there working to keep Californians safe, yet you've got Pelosi out there saying to obstruct their investigation. You can't do it, and we're going to investigate her now, as well as that DA. And Pritzker's on the list too, Jesse.
Oh, God, I would love to see the size of orange jumpsuit they got to get for Jabba Pritzker. While Pritzker is calling ICE agents fascists and Nazis and criminals and racists and thugs for doing their constitutional duty. And let me just be clear. If there exists an American citizen whose rights have been violated or who have been falsely imprisoned or deported, or for that matter, has been in any way roughed up or targeted illegally by an ICE agent, I guarantee you that American citizen would be the most famous person in the world right now. Their face would be everywhere. The fact that Pritzker has to set up a tip line. We know you're being abused out there, so we need you to tell us about it. Wait, how do you know they're being abused if you have to set up a tip line to find out about it and get the details? They've got nothing. They're creating a fake narrative out there to make people believe that ICE constitutionally and legally enforcing federal immigration law is in some way violating people's rights and violating the law. And you know as well as anyone that if anybody had, in fact, been illegally or unlawfully arrested or deported, you would know about it. You know how you would know about it? Because everybody knows the name of Kilmer Abrego Garcia because they thought they had it. They thought they had one. They didn't. He was a criminal. He was a gang member. He was a human trafficker. He was in the country illegally time and time again. But they made him famous, didn't they? Because they thought they had one. I guarantee you that it doesn't exist. ICE is actually doing their job. Donald Trump ran on the idea that we were going to have mass deportations of the people who came into this country illegally and are breaking the laws continuously. And that's what this looks like. That's exactly what you're getting. And so they have to create a mythology that somehow he's acting like a tyrant. So while J.B. Pritzker is calling them Nazis and fascists and racists, and that they're violating the Constitution and that they're thugs and that they're, what did he say in that press conference? That the Trump administration, through the ICE agents and through DHS and through federal law enforcement, is waging war on the American people. We're 6 weeks away from Charlie Kirk being assassinated. We are 1 year away from Donald Trump getting 2 assassination attempts on his life. One of them with a bullet that missed his skull by a fraction of a centimeter. And we still have politicians out there, just yesterday, as you just saw, calling Trump a fascist and calling federal law enforcement officers who are now forced to cover their identity when doing their constitutionally protected duty, calling them thugs and fascists and Trump's secret police and saying that they're racist. That's what we're seeing right now. And while he's saying that, this is what's happening in the streets of America because of that rhetoric. This is the scene last night. Oakland, Alameda, just across the bay from San Francisco. It's a Coast Guard station that was to be used as a staging position for ICE agents to begin deportation and criminal roundups in the San Francisco Bay Area. Last night, there were protests, typical, usual dirtbag Birkenstock wearing, smelly women with hairy armpits, COVID masks on, Antifa degenerates, screaming about the fascist thugs that are in federal law enforcement. And then this guy in this U-Haul truck starts to menacingly back his way toward the law enforcement officers, the security personnel, and the Coast Guard guardians. Watch what happened. So you saw and you heard the military, Coast Guard, and the law enforcement open fire on the bed of this truck. Now you see him. You see how he's wearing that mask? He's dressed all in black. He's got a mask. It appears that he pulled out his phone and he's sending text messages or something. Now, why the cops aren't coming to that truck, opening the door, and ripping him out of the driver's seat, I couldn't tell you. Maybe they thought that he was armed. Maybe they thought he was dangerous. Not sure. Why they're not blowing out the tires of that truck, I couldn't tell you. He finishes his text message. He starts driving. He waves to the Antifa protesters and drives away. As of this morning, he's still at large. So that's what law enforcement is dealing with in America's cities right now. On almost a routine daily basis, you've got these Antifa terrorists who are sideswiping and jamming and ramming into the law enforcement vehicles, impeding their ability to do their job, putting them in harm's way. And you got J.B. Pritzker, who wants to be president of the United States, going on national television, calling them Nazis and racist thugs. Well, we got two different directions we can take in this country right now. And it's pretty clear where the leadership of the Democrats would take us. We're seeing it. Please, I beg you, believe them when they tell you who they are. All right, coming up, wait till you hear the praise that Bernie Sanders, of all people, heaped on Donald Trump. And what he's praising him about will really raise your eyebrows in just a sec. But first, if you care about staying sharp and informed, to make The Lion part of your daily routine. It's published by the Herzog Foundation. The Lion covers the headlines that matter, from politics and policy to culture and faith, all through a common sense, values-driven lens. It's the kind of journalism that goes beyond the surface, offering the context and clarity today's news demands. Whether you're tracking big national stories or you want to know what's happening in schools, state houses, and communities across the country, The Lion delivers smart, well-sourced reporting you're not going to find anywhere else. Visit readlion.com to catch up on the latest must-read stories. And while you're there, sign up for the Lion's daily and weekly newsletters. That's readlion.com, news that informs and respects your worldview. Well, Bernie Sanders is doing another string of media. He's got a book out there, don't you know? And while he's doing these podcasts and interviews, he's dropping little nuggets here and there that make people think that maybe, just maybe, he's going to run for president again. Now, I want you to be the judge, but first, here's the eyebrow-raising praise that he just heaped on Donald Trump over, of all things, his ability to secure the border. Take a watch.
If you don't have any borders, then you don't have a nation, right? In a sense. So has historically the United States done well under Democrats and Republicans in protecting the border? The answer is no. Trump did a better job. I don't like Trump, but we should have a secure border. And it ain't that hard to do. Biden didn't do it. Those before him did not do it. We should have a secure border, period.
All right. Now, this is why I hear that and I think to myself, he might be running. Or he might be clearing the path for other Democrats to come out and say the same thing. Nobody wants to be first. But Bernie has so much fundraising ability, goodwill with voters, and kind of a, who gives a F, kind of Teflon to him, that maybe he's the only one amongst high-profile Democrat elected officials who can actually say this. But I've told you in the past, there's two big hurdles, really, that Democrats have to get past if they want to win again nationally. The first is they have to be able to answer the question, can a man get pregnant? They're not there yet. The second big hurdle is they have to be able to answer the question, when challenged, are you going to keep Trump's policies on the border in place, or will you bring it back to where we were under Joe Biden? And I think Bernie Sanders is sort of clearing the way right now. He's sort of like hacking his way through the jungle with a machete, showing other Democrats the path to walk. They're going to have to come to grips. They're going to have to. Otherwise, they just cannot win. It is the litmus. And now here's the thing. Even if a Democrat comes in and says, yeah, I'll reluctantly agree that Donald Trump is right on the border and we need to keep it secured and we'll keep the wall and we'll keep everything in place. The next hurdle there is that people actually have to believe it. I don't think there's any reason to believe any prominent Democrat in the national spotlight right now trying to be president should be believed on that issue, because they said nothing during Biden. In fact, they reinforced Biden and Kamala Harris and everyone up until now. There's no reason to believe them on the border, but at least Bernie is trying to show them the way. And what he said here is critically important. The very first part, before he acknowledged that Trump has done a good job with the border, listen to the first part.
If you don't have any borders, then you don't have a nation, right?
Now, most Democrats running for national office or prominently already serving in Washington, D.C., or for that matter, the Democrats who prop them up, people in the media, people in the pop culture, entertainment, the music industry, academia, wherever, they won't affirm that. The globalist Democrats who hate this country and think we have no business being happy and healthy and prosperous and powerful, they would not affirm that basic fundamental truth that if you don't have borders, you don't have a country. So there's still quite a disconnect here. But would you be surprised to learn that this is actually not new for Bernie Sanders? Oh, sure, we've seen the Bernie Sanders campaigning for Hillary in 2016, even though they screwed him out of the nomination, and then campaigning again for Joe Biden in 2020, even though they screwed him out of the nomination, and then campaigning for Kamala Harris in 2024, even though, again, they screwed him out of the nomination. We've seen him toe the party line. We've seen him parrot the talking points, lambaste the wall, lambaste ICE, lambaste Trump for enforcing the border and keeping our nation secure. We've seen that Bernie Sanders. But see, that Bernie Sanders is a very new Bernie Sanders. It's the Bernie Sanders who had to warp and change his political beliefs to fit in with the mainstream of the radical Democrat Party that doesn't even believe we have a right to secure our own border. Let me give you a flashback here. This is 2015. This is when Bernie Sanders was just testing the waters. He hadn't yet announced he was running for president. And even when he did, the establishment didn't take him seriously because he's crazy, kooky, lunatic, socialist Bernie Sanders, which is true. And after all, everybody in the Democrat Party loves Hillary Clinton, and she's got all the money. She's got all the power. She's got all the endorsements. She's got all the super delegates. So Bernie doesn't stand a chance. That we learned was not true because people hate Hillary Clinton then and now. But when Bernie Sanders was just testing the waters, he sat down with a very young Ezra Klein, who's now with the New York Times and grew a beard to be taken seriously. Think Pete Buttigieg. But back then, he was very young, very clean-shaven, and working for the Washington Post. And in his wide-ranging interview with Bernie Sanders, the question of border security came up. This is during the Obama administration. Here's what Bernie said about border security 10 years ago. That could very well have been taken directly from Donald Trump's stump speech in 2016. This is before Trump announced his candidacy. Did you hear everything that Bernie Sanders just said? Don't have secure borders. You're not a country. You're not a sovereign nation. The idea of having open borders to import cheap labor from the third world and pay them below market wages and exploit them. That's an idea from, well, he calls it the Koch brothers right wing. And I guess back then, that was how the right wing was defined in this country. Back then, it was just 10 years ago. But the idea of bringing in super cheap under market labor from third world nations, that's a Democrat talking point now. Who's going to pick our strawberries? Who's going to clean our plates at a restaurant, right? It's a remarkable thing to see, isn't it? And every single thing he said there about our economy, about our borders, about the exploitation, and about big businesses getting off easy by supporting policies that look the other way on border security and immigration and illegal immigration, that's all Trump, man. It's all Trump. And he had to silence it. He had to pretend like he didn't say it or didn't believe it or didn't agree with it so he could play nice and play along with Democrats at the national level. And now I think that Bernie doesn't give a Or maybe he's actually being courageous and trying to lead the Democrats out of the wilderness one step at a time. But have you ever seen that clip? Have you ever know that? It's something. And so now here he is back saying the same thing. Again, if you don't have any borders, you don't have a nation. Trump did a better job. I don't like Trump, but we should have a secure border. It ain't that hard to do. Biden didn't do it. Mehdi Hasan, radical, extreme leftist who's paid to do media. He used to be paid by MSNBC. Now he's paid by some very shady Middle Eastern entities with ties to terrorists. Mehdi Hasan said this may be the single worst thing Bernie Sanders has ever said. And I say this as a longtime Bernie admirer. Praising Trump for his border policies, endorsing lazy right-wing talking points about Biden and border security and nations not existing without borders. Sheesh. Now, this guy is like a propagandist for jihadists. And he's angry at Bernie. So I think Bernie may be making a pretty good point here. That's amazing. And that's not a one-off. Bernie's selling this book, man. So he's doing the podcasts. And he's, by the way, very good at that. Compare this to like Karine Jean-Pierre and Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom even, who I'm told is just so natural and just a really great communicator. No, Bernie's actually a natural at this. Bernie's very good at it. I don't want him anywhere near power. Don't get me wrong. I'm just telling you, as the Democrats go, and they try to sell you Kathy Hochul or Gretchen Whitmer or Pete Buttigieg or Gavin Newsom, who like, don't you get the feeling that if you shook Gavin Newsom's hand, you'd have to go, ew. These are slimy, fake, just sort of, they're all putting on an act. They're all doing a weird thing where they're trying to, look how relatable I am. Everything's fine. Bernie's just Bernie. And he can sit with these bros and just, do this.
Could we not also say if ostensibly there hasn't been a fair primary for the Democrats since 2008, are they not also a threat to democracy? Yes. We often hear.
Fair enough. That is, yeah, I'm not going to argue with that point. And that's why I'm proudly an independent. What we're trying to do now, and I will just reinforce the point both of you made. The hatred that we felt in 2016, 2020 from the Democratic establishment. I'll give you an example. We would do rallies and we had thousands of people, often young people of color coming out, working class people coming out. They were great, full of energy. Yeah. And then we go to Democratic Party events. There'd be a few hundred people, mostly older, whiter, wealthier. And you saw the clash. And the establishment did not want to open the door. They hated the idea that all these people whose hands were a little bit dirty, who didn't have PhDs or weren't wealthy, imagine walking in, it's my party, man. You ain't getting in.
Yes.
We will fight you in the most ruthless ways that we can. And that's the struggle. Are they going to open the door, or are they prepared to lose elections, literally, and maintain, the status quo, go down with the Titanic? So
he's not wrong. And I hope you caught the premise of the question, because Bernie had just said something about how Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. And the person said, okay, but can we also agree that the Democrats are a threat to democracy? Handing Kamala Harris the thing, stealing the nomination from you. And that's where he went off and said, let me tell you something about the Democrats. And all those people who went to Bernie rallies and had dirty hands and weren't accepted at the Hillary Clinton elitist Ivy League PhD only kind of parties that was the Democrat Party, they voted Trump. Or a whole lot of them did. And the Democrats have doubled down on that. That's where they're headed. That's who they are. Their main candidate. Look at who they're running right now for office in New Jersey and Virginia. The affluent, white, female liberals who are meant to appeal to people with college degrees or even advanced degrees. And they look down on people who aren't like that. And they think that's the ticket to victory. And we'll see. Now, before I get stuck praising Bernie Sanders too much, because I'm not praising him, I'm just telling it like it is. He's good at this, and he gets it, and he knows. I also want to point out that he's still the lunatic that we all know and love or fear. He has endorsed this guy for Senate up in Maine who has, well, there's no way to put it, a Nazi tattoo on his chest. It's literally the skull and crossbones tattoo used by the SS guards. If you go watch Schindler's List, Ray Fiennes' breakout movie where he played the sadistic Nazi guard at Auschwitz, look at his wardrobe, and on the collar of the Nazi costume that Ray Fiennes is wearing, it's the exact same skull and crossbones logo that this guy that Bernie supports in Maine had tattooed on his boob. But this guy hates Trump. And so he's in the lead right now for the Democrat primary in Maine because that's all it takes. So Bernie Sanders has endorsed this guy. And so now he's confronted on it. He's like, you still can endorse this guy? He has literally a Nazi tattoo. Not, pretend, punchline Nazi stuff that they say about Trump where you don't really mean it. You don't really think he's a Nazi. No, this guy literally had it. Oh, and his excuse, by the way, was, hey, I was a Marine. I was with other Marines. We got drunk. That's what we do. I'm still waiting to see one other Marine who has this tattoo because he claims that all of his buddies went out and got this tattoo. I know a lot of Marines. They have tattoos. Not like this. So Bernie's asked about it. And what does Bernie say?
I suspect that Graham Plattner is not the only American to have gone through a dark period.
Your candidate in Maine running for Senate, Graham Plattner, has been subject to a lot of fire and fury, stories of old posts, crude comments about black diners, about rural white people. You said yesterday you are still supporting him. Why?
I am not overly impressed by a squad of media running around saying, what do you think about the tattoo on Graham Plattner's chest? Between you and me, there might be one or two more important issues, but let me go there. I'm not Graham's best friend. I met him several times. We did a rally in Portland, Maine, a great rally. I am impressed by the guy. This is a guy who will tell you who has served 4 tours of duty with the United States military. He was in the middle of some heavy-duty combat. He was a machine gunner. That's what you do. You mow down people, He went through some very difficult experiences in the military as a machine gunner, seeing his friends killed. Came out of the military. He will acknowledge, I'm not telling you what he doesn't say yet, PTSD. He went to the VA, and by the way, what he says, they rebuilt his life. All right. He went into a dark period in his life. I suspect that Graham Plattner is not the only American to have gone through a dark period. But what he did was he expressed his darkness on the internet. Probably not a brilliant thing to do. All right. And he said things that are stupid, things that were hurtful. He has apologized for them. And what he says now, and the guy that I saw up on the stage in Portland, Maine, rather a brilliant guy. I mean, really a strong fighter for the working class, very articulate, very smart. And what he has said is, yeah, I went through a dark period. I said stupid things. I am not the person today that I was back then. And I think as a nation, especially given the fact that we have a president who is convicted of 34 felonies, maybe we have to do a little bit of forgiveness.
Okay, so listen, I, like a Christian, I'm all on board with forgiveness, especially if people ask for forgiveness, repent, and go through some sort of penance so that they don't sin again. That said, a couple of things. First of all, I work with an organization called Fisher House Foundation. They provide homes for people in the military and their families when the person in the military is going through a medical crisis, either because of a combat injury or other kind of accident or injury or an illness if they're veterans. And I produce a radio program for the Fisher House that goes out to radio stations all around the country during the holidays. I'm in the middle of producing one right now for Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's coming up. You might hear it on your local talk station during the holidays. I've been interviewing members of the military who have also gone through very, very dark times, who also had to do some pretty rough things when they were in combat and went through horrible injuries and lost limbs and have had traumatic brain injuries. And he's right. There are a lot of Americans who have done that. They don't get Nazi tattoos. Okay? And to use veterans of the war on terror who have done combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan and now maybe suffering from PTSD and have gotten through some rough times, to use them as a human shield from this guy getting a Nazi tattoo is kind of gross. But the good news here is that maybe this equals things out here as they continue to call you a Nazi. You can say, oh, hey, I've been told and assured by very reliable liberals in this country that it's okay to be a Nazi now. And unlike their favorite Nazi, who's self-funded and might win the Senate in Maine, and that's really why they like him, because he can run against Susan Collins and seem like a young, upstart, working-class dude, even though he's a very wealthy man. And they don't have to raise any money for him because he'll be self-funded. That's really why they like him. But if he can be a Nazi and literally tattoo a Nazi symbol on his boob and you still support him without blinking an eye, then I think it's fine for you to go ahead, call me a Nazi. Maybe that means you think I can run for Senate. The hypocrisy is amazing to witness, but it's who they are. And by the way, if we can just finish things off with one more fine Bernie Sanders moment on his book tour. I do love it when they go on book tours. They say the darndest things.
Do I own 3 residences? Yeah, I do. I live here in Burlington, Vermont. We live in a middle-class neighborhood. Nice house. Guess what? I'm a United States Senator, and I own a home in Washington, D.C., as do most senators. You know, you live there year after year. When I first went to, actually, when I was in Congress for 16 years, I rented all the time. But I got elected. Okay, got a 6-year term. You know what? Let's buy a house. So we bought a house. And guess what? Like many thousands of people in the state of Vermont, I have a summer camp. It's a nice one on Lake Champlain.
Do I own 3 houses? Well, yes, I do. And I won't apologize for it. Is my net worth in the millions? Yes, it is. And I won't apologize for it. It's good to be a socialist, as long as you're, you know, one of those animals that have been created more equal than others. And that's Bernie Sanders. Gifted politician, knows where it's at, has figured out quite a bit to continue the grift. And sure, he owns 3 houses. Who are you to judge me? Wow. All right, guys. Thank you for watching today. Appreciate it. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss another episode. And let's get to your super chats. We've got one on Rumble that I want to bring to your attention because we can't bring it in here. It is $10 from JFK's 1068 in remembrance of Charlie. God bless you, man. I appreciate that. Let's raise one for Charlie. Absolutely. And we got Stumble Boots for a $2 super chat. Thank you, Clippy. You're cool too. I really appreciate your consistent support. We really do love it. Jeff Depew, Senior, $5 super chat. I don't trust Democrats when they start talking about Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid in the tax pie. Yeah, there's no reason to trust them. They're wrong. They lie all the time. And every time they find a fix that's going to cost you more money, within 5 years, it's still broken. And guess what? The only solution is more of your money. Thanks, Jeff. God's best friend, GBF, there in the UK with a £2 super chat. The auto pen is sharp. Yeah, sharp as a tack is that auto pen. What a fine president he was. Thank you, that. GBF, £5 super chat. Israeli soldiers weren't allowed to kill terrorists who didn't have Hamas membership cards. Are there really membership cards? Yeah, that would be great. You're a card-carrying member of Hamas. Thank you, GBF. Michael Scott, I believe he is the general manager of the Scranton branch of Dunder Mifflin Paper. Michael Scott, $5 super chat. They need to change the name of ICE to National Immigration Customs Enforcement. Nice. I would love to see it. Nice on posters. Nice on the jackets. It's a war on nice. That would be hilarious. That's a great troll. Trump might do it. Richard Murray with a $10 super chat. I can't wait to see Jelly Belly go to, JB Pritzker Jelly Belly. I call him Jabba. Go to prison for obstruction of federal law enforcement. That's a good looking. Is it me? It's Friday, so I want a cocktail. And that is a good looking cocktail. But I'm not drinking alcohol this week. I'm a little dry. I'll explain why in a minute. Thank you, Richard, for the $10 super chat. GBF with £2. Illinois demands the right to protect its murderers. That's right, especially the ones in the country illegally. Thank you, GBF. Patrick with £5 over there in the UK. Congress created and funds ICE. They need to step up. All funding to any state which does this tracker or creates no ICE zones should be withdrawn. All other funding, yeah. Listen, I said they're neo-Confederates. They continue to try to push the line on federal supremacy laws versus state laws, and it's going to get ugly. It really is, Patrick. Thank you for that. GBF, £5 super chat. Gems fought to keep Fred Scott rights equal to those of a horse. Slave owners' rights are a writer scared. I think he means Dred Scott, but Fred Scott is kind of humanizes the whole Dred Scott thing. Thank you, God's best friend. Patrick, £10 super chat. Christine Nome should set up her own ICE tracker to list American citizens killed or harmed by illegals, and the judges failed to stop them. Also, list of names of those who attack or threaten ICE. Yeah, well, they actually, I gotta say, they've been doing really good at media and electronic media, the web, in terms of pushing back, Patrick, and highlighting all of the crimes committed. And I think the American people know that, and they get that. Paul Clank, $2 super chat. JB Pritzker can clean our restaurant plates. Who's going to clean? Oh, he'll clean them. He'll lick them clean. Can I make enough jokes about him being fat? No, I can't. That is one big man. Thanks, Paul. GBF with a £5 super chat. Mehdi Hassan once asked, if Islam is murderous, why aren't we all murderers? That's not a bad question. Actually begs another question, but don't have time to get into it now. Yeah, Mehdi Hassan. What a guy. Thank you. Thank you all for the super chats. We really appreciate it. It means the world to us. And thank you for launching us into this big weekend. Don't forget to like and subscribe and recommend our show whenever you can so that we build our community here. And wish me luck, if you would. Keep me in your prayers, if you don't mind, this Sunday morning. I'm running the Marine Corps Marathon, and I've never run a marathon in my life, and I'm a man of a certain age. And also my back's been a little tight this week, so I haven't been able to sort of really, I'm not feeling confident. Last weekend, my last 2 training runs, I was feeling great. I ran the fastest 13.1 that I've ever run in my life. I ran the fastest 10K I'd ever run in my life, and then I did another 8-miler on Saturday of last week. But then I woke up Monday morning with a sore back, and I've been in pain, and I've been stiff, if I may say, right up until today. I ran 5K today just to sort of loosen up, and we'll see. I'm gonna do another 4 tomorrow morning, first thing, just to make sure that I'm okay. And then Sunday morning, it's 26.2 all through the streets of Washington, D.C. and the Pentagon and Rosslyn, Virginia. In fact, the finish line is right by where Kevin's sitting right now in the town hall offices. Kevin, you going to come out and root me on?
Did you just dox me?
No, I doxed the town hall offices.
Uh-huh.
That's public knowledge. If you Google town hall media, the address is public.
I don't think we want to spell this out step by step for people.
Here's what you do. We need a Kevin Tracker app.
Lord, no.
Anyway, say a prayer for me. I don't know if I'm going to make it. We'll see. 26.2. My longest run during this whole training has been 18 miles, and that was not easy. But we'll see. We'll see if I can do 26 too. All right. That's all we got. Do we have anything else? What are you doing this weekend, Kevin? Anything we should know about?
Oh, we're gonna have a great weekend. This
You
week
and the
was
fellas?
my. Sorry.
You and the fellas?
Maybe a bit. It'll be restful. I've been very busy this week, so.
Yes, it's been a busy week. Every week is busy. All right. Thank you, everybody. Do you like my Detroit shirt, by the way? Thanks for watching. We'll see you Monday, if I'm alive. In the meantime, my name's Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry.